week here at Top Story, we have a special guest. This week is no exception. Tonight's performer could have been seen if you watched it on live at Gotham on Comedy Central. Give a warm welcome to Chuck Watkins.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm very glad to be here tonight. I am super excited. It's a great show, and I'm in a great mood. I just got the results of my CAT scan back. It's a cat! All right. I like to start with the dumbest thing possible and incrementally raise the bar by one joke at a time, very slowly. I wanted to buy some goggles, so I went online and I Googled goggles, and then Google was like, Did you mean Google? I was like, settle down, Google, not everything's about you, all right? And that was so much fun, I went over to Yahoo and I Yahooed Yahoo just to get its hopes up. It's pretty great. I'm not the smartest cookie in the crumbler, or whatever the phrase is, but I try and, I do some things. I barely squeaked out of high school. 2 grades put me over the top. One was the excellent grade I received on my final art project. Simple stick figure sketch of my art teacher, Mr. Garza, making out with a married Spanish teacher. I call that piece, I know. A+, please. And the other grade that put me over the top was the excellent grade I received on my final Spanish project. Simple short story, written entirely in Spanish, about a certain art teacher making out with a married Spanish teacher. I called that piece, Yo sé. La puse dua, por favor. I try and stay informed about the economy. I bought a book on capitalism, and on the first page it said that Americans tend to waste most things they buy because they habitually buy things they don't need. So I threw the book away. Wasting knowledge is more fun than acquiring it, in my book. I bought another book on capitalism, but I had to return it because most of the letters were lowercase. All right, I bought a book on dictatorships, but I had to return it because I thought it was going to be a book about penis-shaped tater tots on boats, all right? Dictatorships. My first job was at a bookstore, but I thought it'd be fun because it's around knowledge, but it was at like this corporate bookstore, and it sucked all the fun out of it, so I kept trying to find ways to get fired immediately. Like, people would come up to me and be like, can you help me find the self-help section? And I was like, if I helped you find the self-help section, then you wouldn't be helping yourself now, would you? And people would come up and be like, do you think you know where the psychology section is? And I'd be like, do you think I know where the psychology section is? People would come up and they'd be like, do you know where the religion section is? And I'd be like, I think it's over there. But hey, that's just what I believe. It might be over there. Like, we might not even have a religion. The religion section might just be a big empty bookshelf that just goes on from here to eternity through nothingness. But you're more than welcome to try. I got tired of driving a car all over town, so I started driving a scooter, and a scooter's great, I love it. The only thing that's weird about it is that I get insulted all the time, and some of the insults just like don't add up. People have weird conceptions about like driving a scooter and the lifestyle that it leads, you know? Like I was driving the other day, and I guess I was going too slow, so this guy pulls up next to me, he's like, hey man, why don't you go put on a beret, pick up a fresh baguette, and Bridget Bardot, go over to the Eiffel Tower and have yourself a picnic. That sounds awesome! Oh, your stereotypes make me look like a real winner. What if I did the same thing to you? Like, why don't you go find a sleeveless tuxedo, a bacon-wrapped engagement ring, drive to Reno, and marry your sister? I think that would be amazing for you, too. Not a lot on that one, that's all right. Another thing about a scooter is that, like, I see a lot of cyclists, and they want to, like, be comrades and buddies, but I don't know how I feel about cyclists, because I don't like them, mainly because of the way they dress. A helmet, pads, and like a neon unitard jumpsuit. You look like a mentally challenged ballerina. They're always like, it cuts down on the wind resistance. Yeah, well, it cuts down on your credibility as a human being. And cyclists are snobby, too. Like the other day, I'm sitting like on my scooter at a stoplight, drinking a soda, totally chill. Cyclist pedals up to me, he's like, I make the world a better place. I cycle. I was like, oh, well, I make the world a better place too. I recycle. He's like, prove it. So I threw my bottle at his head. He's down on the ground. He's like, oh, irony, my only weakness. Sometimes I have to like ride the bus because the weather or whatever, and every time I ride the bus I think of that familiar old song, The Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round. It's a great song, but one thing about that song is that they left out like a lot of verses that would teach kids what it's actually like to ride the bus. It would have been a little more helpful. Like, the homeless guy on the bus is gonna make make you feel sexually uncomfortable. A homeless guy on the bus is gonna make you feel sexually uncomfortable. Then be a dick when you don't give him any change. Teaching kids. I used to be a teacher, and one thing about being a comedian and a teacher is that they found out I was a comedian because I always cracking jokes, and they wanted their jokes to be included in my act. And normally I would never do that, but I don't teach anymore. And so I thought I just had this list of like schoolyard jokes that these kids told me. They're just typical schoolyard jokes. I thought I'd share them. So this is call and response too. So I'll call it. But you know how humor works. All right. So what do you get when you cross a tiger with a cheetah? A pizza. I should mention I taught special ed, so some of these jokes don't exactly add up. What do you get when you cross a tiger with a leprechaun? What? I don't know, but it'd be pretty goddamn cool. All right, that one's true. What do you get when you cross an elephant with a donkey? What? A restrictive duocracy where two parties vie for the controlling interest of while limiting the voice of the individual. That kid has Asperger's. Doesn't mean it's not true. This next one's from the goth kid, and you might think it'd be hard to be goth at like 7 years old, but this kid's like super goth. This kid's so goth, his farts smell like synthesizers. They sound I messed that up, but that's fine. Give that guy a burrito, he can fart out a Cure album. All right, so here's one of those. There's a knock knock. Interrupting death metal cow. No! Why did the chicken kill himself? Why? To get to the other side. Take my life, please. In addition to being a comedian, I'm also a musician. Currently writing a concerto for the oboe, my favorite instrument. Can't afford real musicians to play it, so I'm teaching gay homeless people how to play it. So that when the piece premieres, it can be my homo, hobo, oboe, opus. Very conceptual. I'm also learning how to play the violin, and the violin's great because it's all about being calm and centered, you know? You try and play the violin all unfocused and angry, it just messes up your back and your neck for like a long time. It's one of the few instruments where playing it wrong can mess you up for life. Nobody ever limps out of a band hall with a busted leg and a black eye. Like, what happened to you? Fucking xylophone accident! B flat hit me with a G sharp, now I'm effed up in A major way. And in conclusion, if I'm ever on death row, whenever I'm on death row, and they ask for my final words, I messed that up too. They ask for my final meal, I think I'll take that meal to go. All right. And if that doesn't work when they ask for my final words, I'm just going to recite all of Shakespeare's Macbeth, okay? The way I see it, I'll do all the parts, like double, double, boil and trouble, I'll do it all. The way I see it is if I do a good job, they will learn the moral of the story, realize that revenge is futile, and just let me go. If I do a bad job, I will lull them to sleep and make a sneaky getaway. Which is what I'm going to do right now. Bring back up the rest of the show. You guys are great. It's going to be a fun one. Thank you very much.